Then 2009, I joined CSIR. From there, we developed SOCCO, Southern Ocean Carbon and Climate Observatory. When I was within SOCCO, we developed these trace metal facilities, trace metal in the ocean, and I became an expert in that field. I also brought that expertise to government, and we still collaborate with SOCCO. And the skills that I got from there, it made me who I am today, and I can apply all the knowledge and skills that I learned from SOCCO anywhere in the ocean.
So Thato Mtshali joined us really on in SOCCO's trajectory. I think it was in phase 1. SOCCO has been around, the Southern Ocean Carbon and Climate Observatory, for just over 10 years now, close to 13 years. And at its inception, at the time, South Africa didn't have an ocean climate research program, and we didn't have the infrastructure to be able to address those challenges. We needed a new generation of scientists who could face the challenges of the biggest problem in our 21st century, which is that of climate change. Understanding the role of trace metals, iron, and how that interacts phytoplankton in the Southern Ocean was a key component of SOCCO's research, and it's very difficult to measure a trace metal on a metal ship. So Thato had a long learning curve with all of us on how to do the measurements accurately, to collect trace metal chemistry, and then to interpret the understanding of the chemistry of iron with phytoplankton. And phytoplankton, like trees on land, when they photosynthesize, they capture CO2 and they remove it from the atmosphere, and when they sink, they take that carbon with them.
I had to build or develop sampling equipment techniques. We built a torpedo fish, we call it a torpedo fish, that we use to collect seawater samples. While the ship is steaming, we deploy it on the side of the ship, collect samples while the ship is steaming, and then we collect them into the lab, and then we do the sampling from there.
So in our phase 1 of SOCCO's strategy was to set up the infrastructure and the capabilities to make these measurements and observations, and there was a lot of technological innovation in that space. So we started a robotics center and CO2 observations, trace metal, satellites, remote sensing, to be able to address the challenges of the role that the Southern Ocean plays in buffering the impacts of climate, and very importantly, how sensitive those roles are to a changing climate and to the forces that are impacting that Southern Ocean going forward into the future. The Southern Ocean takes up 50% of the ocean CO2 uptake and 75% of the heat that's being generated by the excess CO2 that remains in our atmosphere. So it's a disproportionately more important ocean when it comes to buffering the impacts of climate change. And South Africa has a real geographical advantage to being able to access that Southern Ocean. And so all of our students will have the opportunity to go on the SA Agulhas, to go to the Southern Ocean, to Marion Island, Gough Island or Antarctica. And it's during those expeditions that we deploy our gliders, but also that we do a lot of process studies. It's also the ability to use those robotics and high-resolution modeling and machine learning data products that we're generating and satellite observation. So all this big data and cutting-edge technology is how we train our students to be extremely capable, not just as ocean climate scientists, but also to be able to take those skills of gathering large data sets, interpreting them, coding, and taking that skill set to further their career and other areas that might be valuable. We are trying to take that learning and drive it more towards societal impact. And that's primarily being done through improving our models and our modeling capabilities. By improving the models, you can improve your predictions of climate, and that can feed directly back into society through effective policy around adaptation and mitigation. But of course, we're also benefiting society through the generation of highly skilled and capable scientists. We are now about 7 staff, but we've graduated, I think, close on 80 students now. So we've got a really big HCD program.
Within government, we're focusing mostly along the West Coast, trying to understand the impact of climate change there. With the skill that I got from SOCCO, I'm now applying it in a way that the outcomes that we produce gives advice to the fisheries and the community along the coast. Because for government, you're more like, they call it batupili, people's first. You serve the community before you can do anything.